incorporated into this whole ecosystem.
That's good. I think let's dive a little bit deeper into this, and maybe one way to look at that is how is India uniquely positioned? Are there anything that's unique about India? I think we touched upon it a little bit, but let's see if there's anything more. The idea is not just serve the Indian market, which is good, but how do we compete in the global market? Any of you? Okay.
I think there's quite a few unique things about Indians in particular, and especially how we create industry. I think we are very good at creating business models. Right? If you look at the successful Indians outside of India as well, one of their USPs is they really know how to turn the business model, make money out of it, and they become really contributing to major companies in the US and Europe and so forth. So I think we are looking today as a foundry, as a silo. You got design as a silo. You got embedded systems as a silo and so forth. It could be that in the Indian context, there is going to be a lot more value add to the $2,500 or $3,000 a wafer that comes out. And that could be the business model. If, for example, right, I mean, just imagine if Global Foundries had a fab here, you would see so many companies in the design space, in the system companies, or system services companies will be trying to offer services to you. So instead of you just recognizing revenue at the end of wafer, you would be tempted to say, hey, why not we actually get delivering a product? So there is a business model that will evolve, which I think is very, very unique to Indians in particular, because we're just so good at this, right? We can make do with this. The other thing unique about India, I think, is once it's established, we're so good at extending the life of the product, right? You see, right? I mean, we still, some of the equipment that we have, many countries don't even, they've thrashed it long time ago. But we kind of reinvented. So I can foresee, right, your ROI in terms of, I can see these fabs, it may not be good for the equipment guys, but so there is we are very, very innovative people. Right? I just think that we just know how to get the maximum things out of it. And it could be because we didn't have so much money, right? When you have a lot of money, right, you tend to say, okay, I just need to go move on, right? But now when you have to make do with what you have, you just become more innovative. And that's something that's ingrained in us.
That's good.
Right? And that's a practical example that I see even in our own company versus, when I worked in overseas. So I think a couple of USPs.
That's good.
Just to follow on that discussion, as one of the very few non-electronics or non-electrical engineers in this gathering, one of the things you notice when you go around the world and look at companies such as Lam Research or Applied Materials is the number of people from our diaspora that actually not just business development or electrical engineering or software engineering, but a vast majority of the companies that do business like ours have very highly placed Indians in some of the more classical engineering fields. One of the things that a fab will do for us here is begin to build out an industrial ecosystem, right, in high purity materials, high purity metal processing, elastomers, any number of things that are widely applicable across other industries, right, which this ecosystem has got to get started somewhere. And a fab is as good a place as any. It's pretty high up on the complexity level, as Suraj just pointed out, but it spawns a number of other capabilities which are valuable to the national economy. And so, if you're going to start anywhere in a multidisciplinary environment, you might as well start in a fab. You get chemical engineers, chemists, physicists, plasma guys, electrical engineers, material scientists, all clubbed together. It's a fantastic collaborative environment.
That's good. Maybe one thing that I can add is, if you look at the next growth market that everybody have been talking about, we all know it, the IoT and the wearables. honestly, that does not necessarily need the most advanced technology, but what it really needs is an integration or a capability to integrate heterogeneous technology. Because pretty much when you say IoT, everything of that IoT will have a radio in it. You know, something is going to start communicating with the other piece. So that's one. When, or you look at the embedded memory, or you look at the MEMS, or you look at high, power management. It's a mix of multiple technologies. So it doesn't necessarily need to be the advanced technology, but you need to have the capability to integrate heterogeneous technology, and those products have to be so well optimized to get the very best of each of these technologies. That requires a very tight design and technology collaboration. Because if you want to make the systems, very, very optimal to a very specific application, you have to work very closely with the technology. Having said that, the design and technology co-optimization would really be great if both the fab and the design exist in one place. And I think, like we said earlier, almost all the panelists touched upon it, we have a very strong ecosystem on the rest of the pieces. So if you bring in the process and technology here, that can be really, really good. One other point that can make this case a little stronger, especially in the IoT and wearables, the product life is going to be really short. Okay, we all know that. I mean, the kids would want every new gadget every 6 months or things like that. So you have to be very tightly coupled between process and design. And I think this is one thing that could be unique in India, just my view.
And if I can just add to it, I think the other unique proposition is one of the main drivers for India is the large domestic base. So the domestic market and the increasing purchasing power, increasing usage of mobile platforms, along with this confluence of the trend of the Internet of Things, put together gives a very strong, viable kind of, it puts India into a very unique position that you have got a big market database, a customer database, plus you have this ecosystem where you can really have the design and the foundry put together, customize it, because still on the consumer side it's a fragmented market, so you really need to do customization in a very fast turnaround time. So if all these things are put into place, I think with India's domestic market coupled with these trends, it's going to be a pretty unique proposition there.
That's good, but I just want to make sure that everybody is clear. That is, we just can't completely or solely rely on Indian market. That's our view, because end of the day, you can't get complacent and say, well, this is all India needs and that's all we're going to build. You may lose touch with the world competitiveness. At the end of the day, you have to be competitive in the global market from a technology and cost, effectiveness and yield and rest of the fab parameters. But you have to serve India. That's fine. But just have to be globally competitive to stay and stay state of the art. And that's the way to sustain profitability.
Just staying on the uniqueness perspective, right? There are certain vertical applications like healthcare where the use case of the application in India is different and the scale at which it can be deployed and how semiconductor can impact that is very different from other places. So there are verticals where this can be proliferated much more than the others.
Good. So maybe we'll move to the next level. Okay, I think we understand. We all need it. We understand the uniqueness. What support do we need from the government? Who wants to take that?
I guess there'll be a race to the microphone at this point. I'll get started by just a simple anecdote that my managing director pointed out to me earlier today. A simple thing, like Lam Research wants to import a board for some testing, software testing. And that board, because of some scratch in a corner, became subject to the environmental clearance.
Scratch in the what?
Scratch in the corner of the board became subject to the environmental clearance policies of the government of India. And as a consequence, that simple circuit board, which was needed to test the current generation of software, was held up for 7 months in customs, or actually held up in 7 months for environmental clearances. So I think simplifying and rationalizing a lot of these policies, and by the way, an anecdote does not make a trend, but just I think it illustrates point that we have. For this industry to mature, the government has to be seized of the need for speed. The need for promptness, single window clearances, all the things that everyone's been talking about in the last 2 days. If there's one message that the industry would like to leave the government with, and if I could represent the industry in this particular instance, we need the government to get together with us and understand the industry's needs and craft the appropriate policies, craft the appropriate regulations and laws in some cases where it's necessary to enable its success. I'd hate to have a high quality chemical coming into a fab, wait for 7 months because of an environmental clearance. That would be a disaster.
Anything else?
The only thing I would like to add to it is, yes, we require, and at the end of the day, a conducive environment. So as far as the government is concerned, with everybody is kind of badgering onto the government, if we add on to it, it is, you have to produce this conducive environment with policies and regulations. So yes, customs, X, Y, Z, etc. The other thing I think we need to keep in mind is that fab is, as has already been known, it's high barriers of the entry as well as exit. So and it has to be for the sustainability and the profitability or even the economic viability to be met. It has to be seen over a long period of time. So all those policies, the regulations, and even whatever you put in for the academia or the industry collaboration, etc., they take time to come into actual effect. But also these things have to be sustained over a period of time. If there is a discontinuity or something, it's going to be a colossal thing. So this has to be kept in mind that we are in it for the long ride. So it's not a kind of a short-term thing. It's not like a consumer time to market window here. It's a bigger sustainability thing that we need to maintain.
Okay.
Yeah, and one thing sort of as a more tactical perspective, this is a huge supply chain, right? This whole supply chain has to come together. And they come together at different parts of this process. The guy who builds the fab comes first, the chemical supplier comes, the equipment guy. So we need a clear guideline and follow-up in terms of the timelines, right? This fab announcement went out a year ago. And depending on the execution, if there are dates and people follow those dates, everyone in that supply chain can prepare and make this successful. Otherwise, everyone's left guessing.
Okay. So I think in the interest of time, we may have to cut this panel a little bit shorter. It started pretty late. So I think let's get to the end of the panel. Let's just quickly see. We all talked about India semiconductor growth. Predictions are huge. It'll probably, it'll be even better than what the expectations are. All that is good. Will we really be able to have a fab, have it sustain profitability? What do you think? Yes or no?
I thought I'd give you a kind of a political reply to that.
No.
Yes, I would put it across like that.
What do you think, Srini?
Yeah, all the essential ingredients, all the necessary ingredients are in place, and I think the fact that we have representatives of government on a panel like this, as I would echo what Suraj just said, it needs sustained involvement, sustained collaboration, sustained dialogue, but I think it's eminently possible. I think it's eminently desirable.
Good. Suraj?
So my point would be you get a second chance only once.
Okay.
So let's make sure we take this chance.